Big Bob Adams, Pittsburgh,
Yes, sir.
Pennsylvania, in the house.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, that man got a possum. All right, listen. You're the first man I've ever had on the podcast that legitimately has a true possum hide behind him.
That's it.
Why in the world do you have a possum hide? I know there's a story.
There's a tan possum hide on my wall. Most people that know me know John Chilzer, my uncle. He's the one that got me into raccoon hunting. And so he had a dog that was treeing a bunch of possums. And an older dog that we had problems all our life treeing possum. And we tried everything, every method under the sun to break the dog. So he figured he's going to go on F&T trading post, the guy, the trappers or whatever, and he ordered a tan possum hide and some scent, which I could find. I got the bottle of scent somewhere around here too, some possum scent. And what he was going to do is he's going to put a mouse trap inside the hide, squirt scent on it, and then walk that dog up. And when the dog smelled the possum, it would scare. Yeah. And that was he was always going to reinvent the wheel. That's how he was going to break that dog. And when he passed away, I got his truck, and I found that in his truck, so I hung it up on the wall.
Yeah, he was a mentor to you.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what was his full name?
John Joseph Chilzer.
Okay. How many years did you hunt with him?
20. 20 years. Yeah. He started hunting in the 60s. He had some dogs that just, him and a couple buddies from around here, the Monongahela Valley area, they had dogs, and they were not very good. If they treed one per week, he was happy. They treed possums and ran deer and whatever, but them boys, they stayed out all night and campfires and everything else. Well, then he, I think he said he was like 16 years old, and this was back in like the 60s, and he met up with Fred Moran, the Redbone Man, and Fred had a half blind in one eye, can't see out the other, Redbone female named Penny, and he sold him that dog for like $75 or something, and that dog treed raccoons, and that was where he switched from, I'm going to have a tree dog for the rest of my life, was right that moment when he was 16. Yeah. Then he was he's a Vietnam vet, and he came home, and he stopped hunting and everything, and he got married to my Aunt Terry. And one day they went out and they bought him a puppy, and he got back into it then. He got back with Fred, and he ended up with a Redbone. He was going to trade that Redbone he ended up with a Walker dog. Fred told him about, buy this Walker dog. It's got a crazy mouth. So he went and got this Walker dog, and the dog was out of Knob Creek Lead. And Knob Creek Lead was out of Finley River Chief. Finley River Chief was out of Shetler Sonny Boy. So he got this dog out of Knob Creek Lead.
Well, that was some good bloodlines.
Oh, yeah. And I'm still hunting that bloodline today. I'm still hunting that bloodline today. Like 10 generations.
Wow.
But Fred told him, you're going to trade that dog, go buy that dog, and you're going to trade that dog for this Redbone. There was this Redbone that was supposed to be real, real good. So he drove, met the guy, paid him for the dog, and he was driving home to trade the Walker dog for the Red dog. And his buddy said, man, you ought to take that dog hunting before you trade that dog. Right. And he said, well, maybe I will. So he took him hunting, and he was all right. And he had, people around here still to this day. That was back in the 70s, and the older guys around here still to this day tell me, you never heard a louder dog in your life than Chilzer's Lead. Wow. And that's where he switched from Red dogs to Walker dogs, and still today, I'm still, keeping that bloodline going.
Now, what kind of turned you on to the Walkers? I mean, really?
Him.
Yeah.
Him. Yeah. I was 12 when I started.
We started around 8. The same age. You and I did.
Yeah. You and I have a kind of a similar story, because, your dad and you told me the other day, in your mind, your dad's a legend. In my mind, Uncle John, he's a legend. And I was 8 years old the first time I ever went hunting. And my uncle always joked that, I was a little sissy. I was about a 270-pound sissy at the age of 8. I was big.
Woo,
and
big Bob.
I was a big boy. So he'd be walking through the woods, and if he would stop, I'd right into the back of his behind end. And he'd say, "Go get that dog, boy." I'd see a house a mile through the woods. I'd see a light. I'd say, no, don't come get me. Or if we'd leave the woods, if there was a car behind us, I'd think they were following us. He said, "I'm not going to take you hunting anymore until you grow up a little bit." See, I was 8. My dad died when I was 7. When I turned 12, he started, getting me back in the woods a little bit. And that's kind of where, like, Uncle John became more like Dad. We spent every night together. I quit football for raccoon hunting.
Yeah.
I was playing football and everything. I quit. I just wanted to be with his dogs. First hunt I ever went to, let's see, that was in 2003. I went to the Pennsylvania Youth State Championship in Laurelville, and with Old Pepper. And I think I got 5th place or something. And I came home from, my uncle brought me home that night, like 2:30 in the morning. My mother was sitting on the couch waiting for me to walk in the door. She couldn't sleep. And I walked in the door with that little trophy, and she started crying and everything. But I was hooked. The dogs, man, I love to listen to the dogs. I go out, and he'd pick me up every day after school if I wanted him to. And he got into poker tournaments. And so he'd go to the poker tournament. He dropped me off the house. I couldn't drive yet, but there was a giant hill across the road from his house. And you walk up there, I'd go get the dog, and I'd walk up there. It'd take me 45 minutes, and I'd hunt. And my favorite story from that time is there was a big raccoon contest in Washington and Pennsylvania at the Keystone Club there. And my uncle was at the Otters Club, the little local club here. I said, "Well, I want to go to that contest." And he said, "Well, go hunting up above the house there. And if you get a big one, call me, and I'll leave the poker tournament to come take you out there and get that thing weighed. But don't you call me for a little one." Because I thought every one was the biggest one. They're all big. They're huge. So I go get Old Pepper. She's like 12 years old. I tell you, I walk up there. She trees in a pine tree. I got a little single shot 22 that he's got orange tape wrapped around because I keep losing it. So he put reflective tape around this little single shot gun because, we'd go up there I'd lose it at least once a month. And we'd go up there with the lights and shine the lights. And when you see it reflecting, there's Bobby's gun. So I'll go up with that little gun and that dog. And she trees in a pine tree. And I look up and I see eyes. I start shooting. I probably shoot at least 30 times. And I get it. It comes down. And this thing, like, you ever seen them hit the ground and you just see the fat roll off of them and you're like, whoa, there it is,
Right.
I think I was 15, and I'm calling him. I had a little flip phone, cell phone. I'm calling, "Come get me. I got him. Bobby, I'm telling you right now, if that is not the biggest raccoon I ever saw in my life, I'm going to be mad. I'm winning this poker." I said, "We're going to win the contest. Come get me." So he does. He comes and gets me. He said, "Let me see this great animal." I take it out. I throw it down. He goes, "Go in the truck. Let's go." And where we went, and we won that thing. It was 26 pounds.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 26 pounds. And,
wow.
And we won the whole thing. I got that. I was a 15-year-old kid.
Wow.
Yeah. I walked about 40 minutes to hunt for him, and I walked 40 minutes back with him in the game bag. Yep.
Oh, man. That's crazy. That's crazy. What's nice about that is, and that's what I really wanted to talk about with folks, and that's why I started this podcast, is raccoon hunting it can be such a wonderful sport, and it can be so rewarding. The bond you get between these animals and these hounds, and how much we respect the raccoon as well. I mean, there's some, I pull up to some spots and I'm like, well, there's James there,
Yeah, yeah,
and they're all sitting there waiting on them. I train my puppies on them, and I really don't ever bother them, and we
yeah. They
take
get to
care of them.
stay. Yeah,
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 and then unfortunately, it's like any other animal out there. They're also a varmint, and
yeah,
that they'll go out and they'll absolutely wreak havoc on crops, and
yeah,
there's a lot of folks that depend on folks like us to come out
yeah.
there and help with that. And so, speaking of folks like us, I really want to talk to you about something. You got a little dog off my dad,
Yeah.
and you have a really cool story. And I didn't want
Yeah.
to. You and I started talking about it the other night, and I kind of cut you off. I was like, "Don't tell me all of it." I want to really
Yeah.
hear it because it was at the same time that, and I didn't tell you this. It was at the same time that I had one out of the litter, and my buddy had
Okay.
her. And so it was a really special litter. We've had some amazing dogs out of that cross, and to know that you have something that you have, and I'm gonna let you explain what you have and
Yeah.
some of the accomplishments you've come across. And ladies and gentlemen, this dog's name's Jax, and I'm gonna tell
Yeah.
you something. Mr. Bob Adams here. He's not going to lie to you, and he's going to tell you exactly what kind of dog he is. But you've done a little winning now, hadn't you?
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah. A little bit. Last year did some winning PKC with him. We went and I think I went to 4 PKC hunts and he won all 4 of them. I had no plans to run for a truck hunt or any of that. And I went and won 4 casts in a row with him. And I thought, well, if I win 2 more, I might try to go for this. And I did. So then I started driving all over the place, going to Ohio, West Virginia, drove like Fairmont, West Virginia one night, New Philadelphia, Ohio, hunting the unbelievable mountain over there. It was ridiculous. But I went to 16 hunts with him in the month of April, and he won 13 casts in that month. 13 out of 16. And I almost ruined the dog. I took him to too many. He started at into May. We went into a drought. Through April he did well, real well. At the end of April, he started like standing at your feet a little bit or acting kind of like I don't know. He just wasn't acting himself.
Like he lost interest.
Yeah, I went to a hunt on May 1st with him and won the hunt on a coin flip. We never had a bark. It was a 4-dog cast. We never had a bark. We went back to the club and we flipped the coin up in the air and all 4 guys said what they said. Came down to 2 of us. We flipped it again and I won on a coin flip PKC. And that was the last hunt that dog won, or I won even, because I had other dogs too. And that was the last one until like September. I didn't quit. I kept going. I kept, but I quit taking him. And that was the best thing for that dog. I took him out on hunts, and because he was only 2 years old, I took him out on hunts. I just kept hunting him on his own, and now he's back. He's been back, and but yeah, we went to the truck hunt in Arkansas, nationals. He had a national ticket, state ticket, super stakes. He's qualified for all 3 super stakes in his first year. So I never had I don't have to win the $100, anymore. It's just he could go to him.
Yeah.
He's night champion. He's got 4 wins. And they're all this year. I need 1 more to be able to go to the tournament again. And he's bow legged in the back, but he's got a class and breed on the bench show.
Yeah.
He won a field trial. I'll let my daughter put him in a field trial. She loves that stuff, but I won't do that anymore. I put the old female in now with that, because if my Uncle John saw me putting a young dog in a field trial, he'd kick my ass.
My daddy would tan my hide, son.
Yeah.
Don't kid you. Ooh, that's one thing about it. So how'd you come across him?
Jax. Yeah. I was at Automokes. My Uncle John had a female, that possum dog. Hell of a nice coonhound. One of the better, coonhounds ever. But when she got on that possum kick, I took her to to hunt in the dual champions and the grands on Friday. And then I took my female lady Saturday to hunt. And so I hunted Thursday in the duels, Friday in the grands, and Saturday night champ. I get there Thursday. I took my father-in-law. It was the first hunt he'd ever been to, and we're camping in a tent. I since have got a pop-up camper, but
I was going to ask you how the tent worked out.
I didn't care for it. I'd probably rather slept in a truck and had my tent set up. I had to walk past all the campers to get to the building. Joe Moore, I don't know if you know Joe.
I do.
But
I do. Nice guy.
He was showing dogs, and I wanted to go over and watch him. And I walked past his pen of puppies, and I just stopped to look at the puppies, and this puppy comes up to me. I'm petting him and playing with him and everything. I don't think anything. I walk away. So I go watch the show. The duel thing started, and I went and signed up for it. I paid like $60. I had really no idea what I was really hunting in, but I just wanted to hunt, and I didn't want to go to one of them slams anyway. So,
right.
So I go out. I hunted against Chad Mann, one of them dirty dogs he has, and well, he ended up winning Automotes with that dog. I think he might have won the world hunt or
he won a big hunt with him. I know that.
Yeah, but I hunted against that dog, and he was all right. And I hunted against two other nice male dogs. One was from a guy that Chad actually hunted with from West Virginia, and Fly won. Her toenails were about that long. I bring her back. I call my uncle. I'm like, hey, I want my cast. He's like, for what? I said, I hunted in Automotes, and everything. He's like, you hunted in that champion thing? I was like, yeah. He's like, Bobby, that dog can't be in a champion thing. So I had to cut her toenails, give her a bath, and then I went over and I found Joe. I said, hey, man, can you show this dog? He's like, yeah, I'll show the dog. Well, so I come back from that dual champion about 2:30 in the morning. I go to walk past that pen full of puppies, and that same little puppy, 2:00 in the morning, there he is. So I stop. I'm reaching through and patting him, talking to him and everything. That was Thursday. Friday during the day, go walk past, go walk around, look, buy stuff, whatever. There's that little puppy. And I did see they threw food down outside of the pen, and that little dog was trying to get that food. And I was like, yeah, okay.
He won that food.
Yeah, but I mean, for a little 8-week-old puppy dog, I was like, man, he's all right. He's loud a little. I pet him, whatever. I walked away. Each time, to make the long story of it short, each time I walked past that pen, I played with that dog. He come up to me immediately. I had my father-in-law there. We had a little campsite, I'm over there sitting there talking to him, and I said, man, this little dog over there, he's like calling me, man. Like I've never bought a puppy.
Wait, you've never bought a puppy?
I never bought a puppy ever.
Oh
no, one pup. I technically bought the dog, but the dog was out of my dog, in a buddy's dog. But no, every puppy I've ever had in my whole life has been from my Uncle John's dog or our dogs together. I've never, ever, ever, ever outsourced a puppy in my life. Ever. Not once.
She's fine. She's fine. Hello, how are you?
She's the little field trial girl, the bench show.
I heard that you done a field trial with Jax.
There you go. Here, can you hear?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I heard you done a field trial with Jax, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Did you win?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Good
did you
job.
get line and tree?
Uh-huh.
Whoa. And what is her name?
Julie.
Oh!
I'm telling my father-in-law, this little dog keeps coming up to me. It's like, feels like he's choosing me, and I'm like, but I've never bought a puppy. I don't need puppies. I'm getting ready to breed Thunder to Lady, get my own puppies. I don't need to do this. He says, go buy that puppy. I'll buy him for you. If you don't want to spend the money on a dog, I'll buy him for you. He said, go head over, as long as it's a reasonable, price and everything. I go over, I meet the guy. I said, how much you want for that puppy right there? He's like, that pup's out of a world champion, 2018 CHKC world champion, TrackMan female. And I was like, man, all I want to know is how much you want for that puppy. That puppy chose me. He says, I'll take $500. I said, my father-in-law's buying it for me. I ain't going to spend $500 of his money. I said, I ain't buying that. It's too much for me, man. He's a hell of a nice pup, but I'm sorry. He goes, I got every one of these pups in this pen sold. I'm from Florida. I don't want to drive one puppy back with me. And I looked in, every one of them dogs had a collar on except him. And he says, what do you think about 300? I said, is he super stake? He said, he's super stake, and I got the papers here. I said, go get the papers. I'll go get the money. I went over and see my father-in-law, and I said, hey, I need $300. He's going to sell me that pup. And that's how I got him. That was your dad.
That was my dad.
That was your dad. And Spider was there. He was on the ground, and I got that pup. I said, can he stay in there till tomorrow? Because I'm going hunting tonight. I'm going to hunt the hunt. And he said, yeah. And I was so excited I got that puppy that I went home. I didn't hunt Saturday night, lady. I just went home. I wanted that pup. I said, I'm just taking this puppy home. I got my father-in-law sleeping in a tent. He's telling me his back's hurting. Well, I'm cooking eggs on a Coleman grill. Let's go home. We got this puppy. Let's just go home. So we went home. Yeah. I drove 4 hours home from Richmond to Van Voorst, Pennsylvania. And I put that dog in the dog box with old Fly. They might have been a little older than they might have been 10 weeks or 12. I can't remember. But that dog never went to the bathroom, never threw up, nothing. I'd stop and get gas. I'd look in that dog box. He'd be sleeping. I said, man, he's nice. Bring him home, bring him in the house. Never goes to the bathroom in the house. Plays with my daughter, cute little puppy. I went to a hunting camp that my buddy has in Bedford County, and my father-in-law went, and that was the first time. He's never been to any kind of hunting before till I come around. Now he wants to, he's buying guns and wants me to take him hunting and everything. My wife calls me. She says, your dog's not moving. He's in his kennel. I have a big oversized kennel in the basement. If I have a puppy, I raise him in the house, She says he's in his kennel and he's not moving. I said, well, take him to the vet. He was 5 months old. So she takes him to the vet, emergency vet. And then COVID was real bad at this time. And so she had to sit out in the car. You weren't allowed to bring the animal in. You sit out in the car with a mask on, they come out and, check his temperature and everything. He had a real high fever, and what he got diagnosed with, which I could ask her, I can't really remember, but it's a growing disorder where the dog starts growing, and he's growing too fast, and the growth plate can't keep up with it, and it gets inflamed and then infected.
Right. And like a rickets. Something like that. It wasn't rickets, but it's something similar to that.
That's why his back legs are like that, but it doesn't slow him down. She said they come out to the car, they took some blood, and it's going to be $1,000 to fix him. 5-month-old puppy. She said, if you're asking me not to spend $1,000 on this dog, you're out of your mind. We're saving him. I was like, no, I'm not save him. I'm not telling you that. I want to save him. I just can't believe this is happening, Right. So she pays them, and they fix him up. They put him on medicine, a couple days. The dog's jumping around, eating. So now he's about 6 months, 7 months old. And I show him his first raccoon, and nothing. He has no interest in raccoons at all. That goes on for a few months. I thought, well, I'm going to let this dog grow up. Maybe I'll give him to be about 10 months old. I'm hunting. I'm taking him out hunting with the old dogs. They're treeing raccoons everywhere. He's showing no interest. But what I am noticing about him is I'm walking to my dog that's maybe treed 700-800 yards through this woods. I'm looking down at the Garmin, and that puppy is 500 yards over here. He's not doing nothing. He's not saying nothing, but he's over there. I'm like, huh. If this dog ever does do something, he's going to do this on his own. He's doing his own thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that goes on for a while. Nothing. Then finally, so I get one in a live trap. And,
there you go.
And
they work in the right circumstances.
Yeah, they do, and they also don't. But in this case, with this dog, it's why he's still here. Because I go out in that field, I tied him up to, there's a fence post out in that field where every time I do this with a dog, that's where I go. I tie that dog to that fence post. Well, I take him out. I flip the trap over, takes off across the field right in front of his face. He sees it run, sees it cross the field, and he just goes nuts. Like it's running away from him. He wants it bad. That big mouth. Oh, Ooh,
Just screaming.
I'm trying to turn him loose, but I can't get to him because I'm like, oh my, I flip that dog loose. It hit the woods. He's run across that field and he treated. After that day, he never looked back. He just got better and better and better and better. One of the most immature dogs in the whole wide world till he was like 2. I kept waiting on him to grow up. I'd go to the hunts and I'd have to spend the first 5-10 minutes of a hunt like biting my lip because I just want to scream at this dog because he's trying to play and with the other dogs and he's like, get out of here, man. But that all
I
went
try
away.
to tell folks, and I mean it's no lie with this line of dogs, they are late bloomers.
Yeah.
I mean, Ched is a 2-year-old and he still acts at times like a big puppy. And it's like, dude, grow up a little bit, but I enjoy him. You can have fun with him. They act like big old goobers.
Oh, yeah.
And one thing I like about them, and you're probably experiencing the same thing, is they're one-man dog.
Absolutely, 100%.
And one thing I say about these hounds is it takes a certain type of person to hunt one of these hounds, because in my opinion, you have to be dedicated to one of these hounds.
Right.
These dogs, they take a lot of attention. They take a lot of hunting. And when they turn it on, you got to pour it to them.
Yep.
And I learned real quick, if I ever messed up, in my training, it reflected real fast on them. And that showed how much brain that those dogs
100%.
really had, and that was something about Spider. When you talk about Spider, I noticed I watched that dog tree raccoons behind dogs in major big hunts behind very nice dogs. I watched him one night tree a raccoon. We were hunting against, I think it was the Willie dog, whatever. It was a world champion. It was 2 world champions in one cast. And we went out there and we had a crowd, buddy. And Daddy was handling Spider. They cut loose. Long story short, Spider went out there, got treed fairly fast. Went in there and scored him. He had a raccoon up a pretty big sized tree,
Yeah.
And he was split from another dog about 15 yards away. That dog was plussed up, had a raccoon. So we're like, all right, it's game on. It's a good cast to start it off like that. So we walk a minute and we recut. Spider rolls out, makes a big loop. And all of a sudden, Dad and I both go, oh no. Because Spider every great now and again would go back to a tree.
Yeah.
That dog went all the way back to where he treed, went over one tree. The raccoon came down the tree, went up the tree right next to it. Spider treated the same twice in the cast.
Yeah.
And we ended up winning it. Yeah, we ended up winning it. And everybody on the cast died laughing. They said, man, if that's not luck.
That's luck. Yes, sir.
But that's what's cool about these dogs. I mean, they have noses. They have hunt. But if you're in any way mean to them, they will shut down.
Oh, no. Yeah.
That's one thing I like about these hounds here. Is this line really, if a dog comes in there and gets rough with them, they just want no part of it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I respect about these hounds. And that's why I hunt them, is I don't like a fighting a dog. The only thing I say, I want my dog to stay there at the tree and I want him to stand his ground. Well, you know what? Standing your ground can also get you hurt. You know?
And it could turn you rough too. Like there's quite a few dogs around this way that went most of their life not, being the same way. They don't want to fight. They don't want any problems. They just want to be on a tree, and then, dogs come in on them or whatever, and then they fight back and they win that fight. Now they got the grudge. Now they're and I don't want that. Jax has only ever had one experience with a fight, and it was a dog that come in on him. He treed the raccoon. Dog come in on him and got on him pretty good, and he moved. He went and he come about 2 trees over and just treed there. Cost me the cast, but I'd rather lose a cast than because I got minus for my dog leaving, and that dog got plus for, getting on my tree, but cost me $135 cast instead of, getting a dog tore up,
That's exactly right. Or picking up a bad habit.
I'm picking up a bad habit. And then I took him with, I got a young male dog here out of my stuff, and he'll cover, because Jax won't cover. And, but this dog will cover. If there's nothing else going on, he'll cover. So I wanted to see, and this dog Jax a tree bad. And, I just wanted to see, and I took him in, and Jax got on the tree, and I basically walked that dog in there, and he went in and got on a tree and just jumped and Jack and landed on Jax. He even knocked him over one time. I mean, about 2 times bigger than him, because Jax is a pretty small dog, and there was nothing, So I did worry after that, because that was maybe the third time that he was on a tree with another dog in his life.
Right.
So I didn't honestly know, what's he going to do, because it's very rare that you ever find him treed with something else.
Now, do you hunt him solo a lot?
Almost always. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's changed about the way I do things. I hunt solo a lot. I hunt especially when I'm really starting to tune them in. That's what I'm doing over the past year with Cheetah. I really been hunting him solo, and boy, he's been shining. I mean, they really start figuring it out. They're not worried about the other dogs. Now, something I will do, and this is a little piece of training advice that I'll tell everybody. Something I do is I have a dog here at the house that he's just an old pleasure dog that is just my buddy. But he barks in the box. And so something you can do if you don't have a dog that backs and you want to try to see if your dog's going to come off of trees and stuff, you can go cut your dog, leave that dog in a box, walk out, let that dog in the box bark his little head off. Leave him alone. Let your dog go on and hunt. If your dog starts going back to that dog, that's when you need to do your homework, start fixing,
Yeah.
And it works.
Well, actually, I had a dog that I was hunting, a young dog, and he was treed. And my uncle and a buddy of his pulled into the parking spot where I was parked behind my truck, and they had dogs in the truck. And when those dogs started barking, and that dog left that tree and went to them guys. Yeah. The ironic part about that is that I gave that dog was like, I don't know, 7, 8 months old when that happened. He was a young dog. I ended up giving him to the guy, and years later, that's the dog that took my dog off a tree.
Man, funny how the world comes around, isn't it?
It is.
Oh,
but like, I'll take 2 dogs. I just did it 2 nights ago, and I'll turn one loose and get him on a track or whatever. He could even be treed, and you could take Jax out of the truck 200 yards from a dog that's treed and turn him loose, and he's going the other way. He's not going there. In that Tournament of Champions, he won the cast. The Saturday night, the cast he won. He treed a raccoon, and there was another dog that was only maybe 40 yards or so split treed from him, a female. And I said, I pulled him off the tree. Well, and I said, "Hey, man, UKC, I could turn loose like right away, right?" He's like, "Yeah, man, but you want to turn loose right next to this tree." I said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Am I loud?" He said, "Yeah, turn him loose." I said, "Okay." And the way he went, he was gone.
Yeah.
And I just knew he wasn't going in there, and I love that.
I'm telling you, that feature, I call that, if you can put that built-in feature into them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's built in. You can't train that. You cannot train that.
That is built in. That is genetics, and that is good training as well. I mean, that's backing up a good feature. You learned from a gentleman that meant a lot to you. And Mr. Chilzers, he meant a lot to you. Tell me something that you really, really learned from him.
Oh, man.
I know there's going to be a lot, but I know that there's going to be some key things that stick with you to this day that you're like, man, I remember when he taught me that.
Well, he taught me a lot about being in the woods, being a man. 2 things that come just like jump out at me he taught me how to drive, and my wife will tell you he didn't teach me how to drive. But no, what really jumps out at me is when he first came into my life, like for real. He'd always been a part of my life. He was my mom's brother. But when he really, like, when he first came into my life, I was giving my mother a run for her money, put it to say. I was like getting into trouble at school and you know, getting in fights and everything. And my Uncle John came and picked me up one time. I was in a fight in school and I got suspended, and it was happening a lot. And you know, and he came and picked me up, and on the way home, he's telling me, you know, he feels like he created this monster because first of all, he taught me how to do it, but I'm taking it too far and everything. And he's telling me, hey, you're not, you know, there's always going to be somebody bigger and better than you. You need to quit this. This isn't, you know, this isn't the way to, you know, you want to be. And well, I've heard thousands of stories about him in the 70s, you know, whooping ass. And everybody knows, you know, he's the toughest dude around. So I wanted, you know, I thought that was cool or whatever. So he says, I said, I am tough. I am bad. I'm the baddest. And I am bad, you know, whatever. He says, I'll tell you what, boy. We pull up in that driveway. You get out of that truck. He says, I'll give you one chance. You put me down, I'll give you $100 bill. I said, easy money. Let's do it. I get out of that truck. I turn around, walk around the front of that little green Ford Ranger. Come around there thinking, and whap, and down I went. And I looked up at him, stars, and I said, he goes, I never said I couldn't get you first, boy. He said, you're not the biggest and baddest. So that's one. And then he taught me how to, another thing that stands out immediately is he taught me how to talk in front of women and how to not talk in front of women. He's always very polite, man. He didn't cuss. I don't know. He was just known for being somebody who respectfully talked to everybody. He taught me how to be a good sportsman. You know, I'm 13, 14-year-old kid, and I'm hunting with grown men, and he'd always get, you know, comments after the hunt like, oh, wow, what a polite young man, or finding people's raccoons in the hunt, which drives my wife nuts. She's like, stop it. Stop finding everybody else's eyeballs. Why are you doing that? Nobody finds yours. Why do you do that? You don't have, you know. So I'm good at it, and the dog deserved it, or, you know. Well, we just had this conversation. She's like, no, that's like an advantage for you. Like, they can't find it, you can. So you find yours, you don't find theirs, you win. I said, yeah, I guess you could think of it that way, but Uncle John put it into me from 13 till 30. Be a sportsman. Find their raccoon for them. Find their eyeball. If your dog leaves, minus them. You know, I've minus dogs off the Garmin before, Jason. The dog's a mile away, and I'm minus it. You know, it's just that is probably my proudest from Uncle John is that I don't feel, you know, I'm sure everybody has somebody that thinks they screwed him over or anything, but I really don't think that there's anybody out there who's going around telling you, you know, Bobby screwed me over. I think people like to hunt with me, and they feel like they're getting a fair chance when they're hunting with me, and I take pride in that, and that's 100% John Chilzer. That's where it came from. He brought me up that way.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
you know, and that's something to be proud of. You know, and you know, and something my dad told me, and something I learned the hard way. I came back about 4 or 5 years ago. Had a pretty nice little dog, and I was really excited. Come hot out of the gate, you know, Mr. Hot Shot, feeling good because I had a nice dog. And I ended up judging a cast one night, and I minus the man. And my daddy looked at me in the woods, and he said, "You better own up to that. You better own up to that." He said, that wasn't right. I went home and I thought about it, and I owned up to it. I called the man and I apologized. And I tell you what, from that day on, him and I have been friends. We've drawn out together. We've had great hunts together, but it was a good learning lesson for myself It was a good learning lesson. My daddy being there, I embarrassed my dad. That was one of my daddy's friends, and I embarrassed. And your name's everything.
Yeah.
You're born with this name and you leave with this name, Bob. The time you live is what you make out of it. And so I think it's real important. I'm not preaching that I'm a perfect man because I have many faults in life. I can tell you that. But if there's one thing about it, absolutely. But there's one thing about it, Bob. I'm going to be honest. And I'm honest almost to a fault. But you know what? You know where you stand with me.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. So you should take great pride in having respect around women. That hits home when you say that. I just tell you that hits home when you say that, because respecting a woman's a big deal. It really is. It really is. So now let's talk hounds. You tell me one thing right now. How in the world, this is probably one of the most generated questions I get in my emails. How in the world do you break a dog off of trash?
I've never, ever, this is the honest to God truth. I've never had to break a dog off a deer. I've never had the deer runner. I can't tell you the best way to break a dog off a possum because I've had 3 of my best dogs. One of them's out there right now, and she's hopefully going to have a belly full of Jax puppies. And I think I got her broke. They love them.
Yeah.
They just love them. I think they run up the tree right in front of their face, and they can't. There's so much tree dog in there that they can't turn it down. That dog I was telling you about earlier, Fly, possum dog, man, all her life. I sold her to, after my uncle passed away, I sold her to one of my uncle's best friends ever, and he says, "Oh, she treats for me all the time, buddy, but she's after these possums." But with the possum, I think the best thing to do is to get the dog away from the tree. Don't let them, hear a gunshot, or don't let any of that, because, at least my dogs anyway, they hear the gunshot and that means it's good. That what we're doing is a good thing.
It's a reward.
So I get them as far away from the tree as possible, and then, I correct them away from the tree. Deer, I honestly, I never had to break a dog from deer. But the best dog that I think I ever had was Iron Eagle. And a lot of guys around here will say, "Oh yeah, Bobby and Eagle." That's the one I had when I was a kid. And that dog loved to run a fox. I mean, had no quit, had all the heart in the world. You take him down to Ohio and flat cornfields, and he'd get on a red fox, and that's it. You're
gonna be there.
He's gonna be there. What we did with that was my Uncle John bought a bottle of fox pee, red fox pee or scent, whatever, and squirted it all over. We got out of the truck, he squirted all over, and that dog got out of the truck, and then he hit him a few times with a toner and a shocker, and that was it. You knew when there was a fox around because he came into you and acted scared of that scent. And that was about, pretty easy. But as far as deer, I know guy Mike Kennedy had a dog that he bought a lot of years ago, and that he called her Ruby, and she just couldn't pass a deer up. She couldn't. And so my Uncle John said one time, drive down the road until you see a herd of deer out in the field and just turn that dog loose, and when she goes to running them, just shock her. And I don't know, that might work. I don't know. So,
yeah, something I do. I hunt a lot of watermelon fields, and watermelon fields, boy, those deer, they will terrorize watermelon field. And what I done with Cheddar, and I didn't realize I was just training him, doing what I thought was right, and it ended up being perfect. But what I would do is, it was a lot of fence rows, and in those fence rows, the deer only have about 75 yards, from one field to the next, and then you had a fence row, and it had hardwood on it. And so what I would do is I'd send Cheddar and Fancy. I was hunting Fancy with him at the time, and I'd send him straight down that fence row. And as I sent him down that fence row, buddy, you'd see deer just going boing, 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 jumping out. But what I would do is, if they ever turned their head and looked at one, I'd tone.
Yeah.
Because those dogs knew that if I ever had to shock them, it was because they were in severe danger or they weren't listening.
Yeah.
And I needed them right then, and they weren't listening. So they knew if I hit that tone and then they got that vibrate, after the vibrate, it got hot, you know?
Yeah.
And I naturally broke those two. And to this day, Tanner Mooney now has Fancy. And to this day, she has never trashed, ever. I do think that a lot of that's genetics, but
I know it is.
I do feel like most of it's genetics. And I mean, some people will argue that it's not, but it is what it is. I believe it is genetics because I've seen it with my own eyes, and I've hunted outsourced dogs.
The possum thing with these females I'm telling you about, it's daughter, granddaughter, great granddaughter. It just keeps on, going down.
Right.
From all the way back from like Poison, man. Poison was a good out of this world coon dog. That was another one that ran fox young, and I did the old fox scent with a shock and collar and that one time, but man, she was a 10-year-old dog trained possum still. She just I never broke her ever, and she knew when she was in a hunt. If you took her pleasure hunting, and people will say BS, the dog, no, I'm telling you,
they know.
Dog, you take that dog pleasure hunting, she will not tree a possum. She will not. But you take her to a hunt. I drove to Automokes, 4 hours, drove down, signed the dog up, go to the woods, Satellite Club, hour away, to the woods, turned her loose, first in the first 5 minutes, walk in, scratch, turn around, drive them 5 hours home.
Oh, yeah. She had a smiley. Oh, no.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Oh, God.
Every time you got in a hunt, I just didn't even want to take her to hunts anymore because it even in the PKC, I'd be winning. And, my buddy's like, why'd you even tree her? I said, I don't know. She treed. I just treat a dog when it trees. I don't know. We go in possum. Yeah. I lost. I take 200 minus. Here, I just handed you the calf. Yeah. I mean, just over and over and over again with that dog. It drive me nuts.
Wade Morton had a dog. It was a blue tick. And every now and again, he'd get me to handle him, and he'd tree a possum. I just will not hunt a dog that'll tree a possum. I will not. Well, It was a state hunt. I didn't have nothing to hunt. He said he was treeing a lot of raccoon. And was doing good. And I was like, you know what? I might as well hunt him in it. Let me tell you something. I put a working on them boys for an hour and a half. They wasn't even close. State hunt, I was looking and grinning because I knew I just won the hunt. And I said, And about that time, that sorry rascal located, and I had way too much time in the hunt left. And he located, and I had to tree him. Walked in there, and he had a possum.
Yes, sir.
You're out your way back
to the truck.
So you talking about, I was glad I didn't own that dog.
Yeah.
I told Mr. Wade, I said, Mr. Wade, I love you, but I will never hunt this dog again. And I never hunted him again.
Yeah.
I can't handle a dog like that, bud.
Yeah.
I just can't.
It'll drive you out of this world. I'll go hunt Lady now. Now, Lady hasn't treated a possum, and she's 6. She was probably 2 then. It's been years. It'll happen. Well, now I know when she does it because
they have a sound.
She'll do it. She'll tree one, and then she'll tell me because I'll get about 50 yards from her, and she comes out to me, and she won't take me back into that tree
because she knows.
And I know what you just did. So,
they're a lot smarter than we give them.
Yeah.
They really are. They really are. What is something? So now you competition hunt quite a bit, and I have to over the years. What is some of the biggest handling mistakes you see handlers making? And this isn't to pick on nobody. This is just an overall view on what you need to be paying attention to if you're an up-and-comer coming into the sport.
Wait till that dog turns it over. Wait till he turns it over. You got these guys. It's so easy. These dogs nowadays have them big old, and it's easy just to tree them. Weight 75 plus is better than 25 or 100 minus. You know,
Any day of the week.
So yeah, so just wait a minute. Let the dog turn it over.
My buddy Tanner come down here. He hunted with me, and he had her tuned up pretty good, you know. And Cheddar was tuned up. We cut him. They went in there, and what Ched does, he really drifts the track hard, and he'll locate and really blow up on trees. And what he's trying to do is get rid of that other dog. And he hates hunting with dogs. He just wants nothing to do with them. And so he'll blow up. And Tanner looked at me, and I mean, his eyes were that big around. He said, brother, he said, I don't know how you call that dog.
Yeah.
He said, I had to treat him like 6 times.
Yeah.
He said, my gosh. I said, if you'll listen, I said, I can tell you when he's right. And he said, how's that?
Yes,
I said, he's got a squeal.
Yes, sir.
And he'd locate, squeal. I said, when you hear that squeal, he's not right. I said, but if he ever rolls it over and it's and it's pure, you can train, brother. It's lights out.
Yep.
And that is a big truth. My daddy told me a long time ago. My dad, he said, if you really want to get good at handling, you find you a good tree, you cut your dog loose, and lean up against the tree, and you listen.
You listen to the dog. That's it.
Just shut up, listen. He said, let everybody strike in. You listen to your dog. Quit worrying about everybody else out there.
Mm-hmm. That's good advice for like a young kid. What I always thought for like a young kid, you know, when I was a young kid, is just sit there and listen to your dog and call your dog. Don't tree because, you know, somebody else's dog comes in there and blows up on a tree and yours is close to it. Don't just tree, you know, because they did. Wait until your dog trees. Just slow down and just listen to your own dog.
That's right.
Forget about the score. Forget about, you know, how much time's left in the hunt. There are times for that.
Yeah.
You know, 30 seconds left in the hunt and you don't have a poke or a prayer and your dog throws out a wall and locate. You know, I'm calling.
We all swing and miss, buddy. Sometimes that swing and miss, you knock it out of the park.
It happens. It has happened. I wish I would have done it in the Little Mountain Music Hunt. I had about 15 seconds left, and Jax, like you just said about Cheddar, there's 2 different locates. There's the locate that he's going to check and possibly leave, and there's the locate that I'm not going anywhere. There's a different. Nobody else knows it but me, but there's a difference in the bark. There's a difference in the bark, and I had to cast one, I think like 450 or something, and Paul Cronar said to me, you know, Bobby, if that dog trees this, Jax was on a raccoon track, and Paul Cronar says, you know, if he trees that one, you're going to win the Little Mountain Music Hunt. I'm I had to cast unless I took minus. If I take 125 minus, I lose the cast. So he locates 15 seconds in the hunt. He locates and he locates again. And I didn't take the chance. Hunt timer goes off and he locates again and he starts chopping.
Oh.
Yeah. And I got 3rd place instead of 1st.
Oh.
I wish I would have gambled at the end of it. Like when you look back, it's like, man, I wish I gambled on that one. But I know if I would have, he'd have left. You know, he'd have packed his bags and moved on. So
let me tell you, man, it's been an honor talking to you.
Yes, sir.
You have a lot to offer to this sport with your charisma, your attitude. Bob, I'm telling you, you're a good man. I'm glad and honored for you to have one of our hounds and to see you having so much success.
I'm taking him tonight. He's PKCing tonight. The guys are waiting on me outside.
Let's get them.
Yeah, we got a 4-dog cast going tonight. They're outside waiting. We're going to go. So,
we all enjoy the hunt, Mr. Bob, and I appreciate you. Bob Adams, folks. I'm Jason Wayne Hunter from Hunter's Wheelhouse. Anything you got to say, Mr. Bob?
Yes, sir. I just want to say thank you to you for bringing me on. I had a lot of fun. I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I watch your videos. I enjoy watching you. Tell your dad's become, I respect the hell out of that man. He's a friend of mine now. Keep doing what you're doing with your dogs and your show here. It's pretty cool.
Well, I thank you. And it really means a lot to me. And I'm telling you, my dad will be listening. He'll
Yes,
be
sir.
smiling, brother. So thank you so much, Mr. Bob. It's been a blessing talking to you, and Stay blessed and take care.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your host, Jason Wayne Hunter. Thank you for watching another episode of Hunter's Wheelhouse. It means the world to me. We're over 5,000 likes now on Facebook. If it wasn't for you, none of this stuff could ever happen. Thank you so much. Do me a favor, hit the like, share, subscribe button. Drop me a comment below. If you're on Facebook, hit a follow for me. Every follow adds up, folks. Like I said, if it wasn't for you, it'd never happen. God bless. Take care. Huh?